Wednesday Night Satsang. Reaching out to loved ones across the veil provides reassurance that they are with us, and the warmth of their loving care strengthens our bonds. Join Amy Hageman, gifted medium who is raised in unity, for Connecting Across the Veil this Saturday at 1:30 p.m. on Zoom. Register on our website. Meditation is a key practice on any path of spiritual growth and healing. Join Reverend Jean Marie and Dr. Mary Fair on Mondays for our weekly Insight Meditation Sangha and learn how to deepen your practice and find greater peace at noon in the chapel. Give the gift of warmth to the homeless in our city by donating your new and gently used coats. Look for the red bin at Unity on November 13th, 16th, and 20th to donate. This Sunday at 9:45 a.m. is our Spanish language service. Reverend Claudia Olmos will be speaking on testimonies of love. Join us in person or online. At 11 a.m., Reverend Michael Gott will be sharing the message, What's Your Why? We look forward to seeing you in the sanctuary or online. Our Survivors of Suicide groups, facilitated by Walter Blanchard, meets at 7 p.m. in the chapel on the first and third Tuesday of every month. This group is helping those whose lives have been affected by suicide. You're welcome to join us at our next session on November 15th. Next Wednesday night, we will begin a new series on the Unity classic book, What Are You? By Imelda Shanklin. Join us for Reverend Jean Marie's message, You Are What You Think, at 7 p.m. on Wednesday in the chapel and online. Namaste. Welcome everyone. Thank you for choosing to be here tonight as we gather together in unity to practice the principles that we know that set us free. And so let's turn within now and take a deep cleansing breath as we release the day and we feel greater freedom within our body temple. As we bring our attention to the breath, and we return our faith and trust once again to the power and presence of God within. We return our knowingness to the knowing that arises from within the heart, that still small voice of which we are assured will lead us no matter what the situation or condition in our lives. God is there, and we are never alone. And so we feel gratitude for this awareness of God within us, between us, all around us, and everywhere present. Grateful for this opportunity to join together in unity to celebrate this beautiful evening, this gift of life. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. So we now join together in our time of sacred chant with I Trust in God. As we sing the truth we know, please sing with us. I'm thankful, so grateful, I am one in the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. And we take that trust as we prepare for meditation with our mantra chant. Om Namah Shivaya. The divinity in me bows to the divinity in you. Let's join together our voices as one. So as we gently allow ourselves to rest comfortably in the seat we've chosen, breathing into our bodies, deep breath all the way in and all the way out, in a regular, easy rhythm, fully relaxed, adjusting our shoulders, straightening our spine, giving our neck and head a little movement, a little rotation, a way to find just the right setting and alignment, head and neck, spine and shoulders, down the length of our spine into our hips, adjusting slightly if needed, allowing our legs to rest comfortably extended from our hips to the floor, or with our feet folded beneath us, allowing our arms to extend from our shoulders and to allow our hands to rest in our laps. Breathing and letting go. And with each rise and fall of our breath, let us open ourselves to this moment, knowing that peace is here. Peace begins from within, in the depths of us. It is the foundation of our soul. Breathing, we draw it up. Being still on the inside. We allow peace to rise. Filling our being.
bringing harmony and order, bringing serenity. Peace fills our mind and slows our thinking so that inner vision may take over our awareness, showing us the way, breathing. In this landscape of our soul, spread out before us. Our soul does not inhabit us. Rather, it surrounds us, guiding us, drawing forth through us, infusing us with expression, collaborating with ideas, allowing passion to arise, curiosity to lead the way, exploring the limits and the bounds of our own abilities, and when we can, breaking past those limits, that we may express a deeper awareness of our beautiful life in new ways, through new gifts, as needed for the times in which we live. What has been does not limit us in what can be. And so with gratitude, we draw from our past, our lessons learned, our successes, and our disappointments. But always we are free, unencumbered, from now into the future. Breathing, we allow our vision to form a picture, perhaps a sensation, perhaps a sense of some sort. What is next? What step to take? What calls? What excitement lies ahead? What joy. What freedom. Breathing. We draw it in. We trust. We lean in. We let go. And we allow. Breathing. We allow ourselves to capture this moment and store it away, knowing that this is an eternal moment that will live on in you, in me. And when we are in doubt, or discouraged, or in fear, remember that deep down, always, our soul knows. Always here. Always present. Showing the way. And so we breathe and feel our gratitude, allowing ourselves to know and return with another breath into this time and place. For this is where we do our holy work, in the waking world, drawn from the infinite within. And so we breathe and return to our bodies, seated in this chair. And when we're ready, open our eyes and smile. It's already the future. And so it is. Amen.
We are so grateful for your presence in our community because we need each other to create community together. And we're grateful also for the way that you support our community financially so that we can continue to do this work of unity and to spread these beautiful teachings out into the world. So now is our spiritual practice of giving, and we will share our offerings here in the chapel as well as online. We have many ways for you to give. We hope that you find one that's your favorite. My favorite is text to give because it's just so easy. Once you set it up, you just put the dollar amount in and click send. So invite you whatever way you're giving. We're so grateful to join together as we open our hearts and send our gifts off with a true blessing as we say our offering prayer together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. And so it is. when I thought that I knew best, when I sailed through a storm instead of stopping to rest. And it always seemed the hardest when I made up my stubborn mind. Well, I'm changing my ways this time. Wanna be like water coming down the mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Wanna be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea.
Have you ever seen an eagle head straight into the wind? He doesn't pick a fight, spreads his wings and just gives in. And in the end he always makes it home just fine. I guess he knows every storm subsides.
Wanna be like water coming down the mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Wanna be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. I let nature take its course, no more thinking that I know where this river's meant to go.
I have railed against the stars for the cards that I've been dealt, for the lottery I've never won, for the heartache that I felt. But I always seem, when I let go of expectations and regrets, life has plenty of surprises for me, and
Wanna be like water coming down the mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Wanna be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. Wanna be like water coming down the mountains into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Wanna be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea.
Super fun. Thank you, David, for
thank you.
orchestrating that for us. This is the last chapter of Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic. And I thought it would be a good idea to pause at this moment and just kind of talk about, since it's the final chapter, to take stock about why it is that we've spent all this time on creativity. I don't know if you've been part of the series, if you've been listening. We've really been talking a lot about creativity, and this is a service, and we're supposed to be talking about God and divinity and all that, and she doesn't have any words really about divinity or theology very much, because it isn't obvious. But I trust that you really know that your relationship with creativity is your relationship with everything, and it's your relationship with the divine in you. It comes from an infinite source, and you can call it whatever name you want to give it, right? Because it is flowing through us, and it is making our lives what they are, and we partner in that way. And all of the things that you have learned from Elizabeth about how to tap into your inspiration, how to find your passion, how to participate, all of that is how to live your life. Because we are mistaken if we think that we are a career, or that we are a role, or that we are this but not that, or that I'm being an artist now, but I'm not an artist then when I'm doing my day job, you know? It's like we have to realize that we're the ones drawing lines and complicating everything. But everything is always a wide open field. And we're really children at play at our best. And so as we just allow ourselves to express the freedom and the peace and the love and the truth and the joy and whatever makes us smile, whatever draws us forward, that is the thing itself. That is the thing to find. So let's dive in to her final chapter called Trust. So the first thing is, she says, Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer is a botanist and an author who teaches environmental biology at the SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry. Her first question to her students is always this: do you love nature? Every hand in the room goes up. The second question is, do you believe that nature loves you in return? Every hand in the room goes down. At which point, Robin says, then we have a problem here already. Gilbert says, ancient people didn't see it this way. Needless to say, she says our ancestors always operated with a sense of being in a reciprocal emotional relationship with their physical surroundings, and reciprocal emotional relationship with their physical surroundings, not a mental understanding, not a studied, schooled, thing with knowing what the name and the taxonomic name of things are, but rather a relationship. She says, whether they felt that they were being rewarded by Mother Nature or punished by her, at least they were engaged in a constant conversation with her. She was present and she was a part of their life. My shamanic teacher says that nature does love us, that in fact all of nature has gifts to help us. We aren't in dominion over nature, but we are part of it. But learning more like child-elder kind of relationship. We are the only beings who don't know our place or relationship in the rest of the world. Even as we begin to understand intellectually, we don't engage emotionally or energetically in what that really means. To find our place, to take our part, to be vulnerable, to be fed, to be taught. What our true relationship is and how it would change our lives if we did feel it. It would save our lives. It would save this planet. Gilbert says, as Robin puts it, the exchange of love between earth and people calls forth the creative gifts of both. The earth is not indifferent to us, but rather calling for our gifts in return for hers. The reciprocal nature of life and creativity, this ebb and flow, this give and take. She says, or to put it more simply, nature provides the seed, humans provide the garden. Each is grateful for the other's help. So we need each other. But there isn't a dominion, there isn't an overlord, and it's not our place to control and manage and deny this and bring on that. We're to learn and to be in the rhythm of things, because therein lies our own wholeness, our own health, our own value, our own life. She then Gilbert goes into extinguishing for the last time, I think, the romance of suffering for art. We already kind of talked about that, but I could not resist talking about how she describes it here. She says that in high school, an English teacher told her, "You're a talented writer, Liz, but unfortunately you'll never make it because you haven't suffered enough in your life." What a twisted thing to say, she said. First of all, what does a middle-aged man know about a teenage girl's suffering? I had probably suffered more that day at lunch than he'd ever suffered in his entire life. But beyond that, since when did creativity become a suffering contest? Imagine if I'd taken his words to heart. Mercifully, I didn't. My instincts drove me the opposite direction, toward light, toward play, toward a more trusting engagement with creativity. But I'm a lucky one. Raymond Carver, she says, was an alcoholic and was never able to become the writer he needed to be. Not even on the subject of alcoholism itself. Not until he gave up the booze. As he said, any artist who is an alcoholic is an artist despite their alcoholism. not because of it. So I think that in fact, the joy, the light, the freedom, running wildly into a field of flowers that beckons, or the dark forest that enchants, is more intoxicating than the mental belief in the nobility of suffering for art or for vocation. I've suffered enough at my own hands in my lifetime. Pain comes with life, but suffering, that's my own doing. And when I recognize it, I can quickly kick it to the curb and run down the street free. Life gives us bumps and bruises, no matter what we do or don't do. It isn't punishment or refinement, it's just learning. Always the light shows us the way, and always in the distance, the flashing light of our dreams, our delight is beckoning. Come on, man, over here, it says. Gilbert says, the work wants to be made, and it wants to be made through you. I would add that our holy work is not just a set of good ideas. It's not just a passion. It's not just training. It's not all those things. Not a degree necessarily. It's not all those things. It's those things they're tools, they're ways to get there, but they're not the thing itself. You're the thing itself. It's actually a built-in pathway from our souls. Trust that your work loves you as much as you love it. And if you don't love it, don't do it. Find what you do love. You are collaborators with your holy work, and you need each other to thrive. That's what your life is for. So what happens when the passion wanes or disappears, and what gave you joy now seems like a hard slog, right? You kind of get to that place where it was fun, you ran up a hill, and then it got harder and harder and steeper, and then it was just like, oh, you look for excuses not to do it, you stare out the window, you kind of get stuck, right? Passion is something that has you when it's there, but what you have in your arsenal is curiosity, because it's something you can activate. Listen to this. This is what Gilbert says. Curiosity only ever asks one simple question. Is there anything you're interested in? Anything. Even a tiny bit. No matter how mundane or small, the answer need not set your life on fire, or make you quit your job, or force you to change your religion, or send you into a fugue state. It just has to capture your attention for a moment. But in that moment, you can pause and identify even one tiny speck of interest in something. Then curiosity will ask you to turn your heart and turn your head a quarter of an inch and look at the thing a wee bit closer. Do it. It's a clue. It might seem like nothing, but it is a clue. And follow that clue. Trust it. See where curiosity will lead you next. Then follow the next clue, and the next, and the next. And remember, it doesn't have to be a voice in the desert. It's just a harmless little scavenger hunt. Don't make too much out of it, but don't let it get away. Following that scavenger hunt of curiosity can lead you to amazing, unexpected places. It may even eventually lead you to your passion, albeit through a strange, untraceable passageway of back alleys, underground caves, and secret doors. No matter where it leads, or whether you have anything to show for it or not, you will have the satisfaction of knowing that you passed your entire existence in devotion to the noble human virtue of inquisitiveness. And it should be more than enough for anyone to say that they lived a rich and splendid life if they had done so. Consider that. I know we have to make a living. I know we have to do things that we don't want to do. I know that's true. We all do. But I'm going to say we spend a whole lot more time resisting the things we have to do and doing them anyway, rather than pursuing the things we love to do and really being exhilarated and really being opened and charged. And if you are not blessed enough, privileged, I would say, to be able to make a living doing what you love, then recognize that what you love is being served by what you do to make a living. And that too is a gift. And that too is a blessing. And that too is a privilege. And that too is a use of your gifts. It's just not the gift you want to spend more time doing, and you'll have to find balance. But eventually, who knows? If you keep that balance up and keep that going back and forth, what your life will turn into. But never give up the passion and the love and the freedom and the joy. What happens when you fail? Oh, yeah, that's right. Gilbert says, first of all, when you fail, forgive yourself. If you made something and it didn't work, let it go. Do something else. Whatever else happens, stay busy. Once when I was struggling with a book, she says, I signed up for a drawing class just to open up some other kind of creative channel within my mind. I can't draw very well, but that didn't matter. The important thing was that I was staying in communion and communication with artistry at some level. I was fiddling with my own dials, trying to find inspiration in any way possible. And eventually, after enough drawing, the writing began to flow again. Einstein called this tactic combinatory play. It's the act of opening up one mental channel by dabbling in another. This is why he would often play the violin when he was having difficulty solving a mathematical problem. After a few hours of sonatas, he could usually find the answer he needed. Gilbert also encourages fierce trust. She writes a lot about that here. And in the process of fierce trust in your worthiness, in your art, she says, fierce trust demands that you put forth the work anyhow, because fierce trust knows that the outcome does not matter. Did you hear me? The outcome does not matter. It's not good enough, big enough, bright enough, smart enough, unique enough. It's not that. It's like, what do you want to put on paper? What is it you want to create? What do you want to make? What sounds do you want out in the world? What colors do you want to use? She says the outcome cannot matter. So failure can't matter either. I want to read to you where she goes from fierce trust. She doesn't actually go this. I think she made a mistake. I'm into finding mistakes in other people's work. And tonight, I think this part is actually the closing. And it's called Stubborn Gladness. And it's so good, and I'm going to read this to you to close. Stubborn gladness, she says. All I can tell you for certain is that my entire life has been shaped by an early decision to reject the cult of artistic martyrdom, which we've covered exhaustively, and instead to place my trust in the crazy notion that my work loves me as much as I love it, that it wants to play with me as much as I want to play with it, and that this source of love and play is boundless. I have chosen to believe that a desire to be creative was encoded into my DNA for reasons I will never know, and that creativity will not go away from me unless I forcibly kick it away or poison it dead. Every molecule of my being has always pointed me toward this line of work, toward language, storytelling, research, narrative. If destiny didn't want me to be a writer, I figured, then it shouldn't have made me one. But it did make me one. And I've decided to meet that destiny with as much good cheer and as little drama as I can. Because how I choose to handle myself as a writer is entirely my own choice. I can make my creativity into a killing field, or I can make it into a really interesting cabinet of curiosities. I can even make it into an act of prayer. My ultimate choice then is to always approach my work from a place of stubborn gladness. I worked for years with stubborn gladness before I was published. I worked with stubborn gladness when I was still an unknown new writer whose first book sold just a handful of copies, mostly to members of my own family. I worked with stubborn gladness when I was riding high on a giant bestseller. I worked with stubborn gladness when I was not riding high on a giant bestseller anymore, and when my subsequent books did not sell millions of copies. I worked with stubborn gladness when critics praised me, and I worked with stubborn gladness when critics made fun of me. I've held to my stubborn gladness when my work is going badly and also when it's going well. I don't ever choose to believe that I've been completely abandoned in the creative wilderness or that there's reason for me to panic about my writing. I choose to trust that inspiration is always nearby the whole time I'm working, trying its damnedest to impart assistance. It's just that that inspiration comes from another world. This is as close as she gets to theology. It comes from another world, you see, and it speaks a language entirely unlike my own. So sometimes we have trouble understanding each other. But inspiration is still sitting there right beside me. And it is trying. Inspiration is trying to send me messages in every form it can. Through dreams, through portents, through clues, through coincidences, through déjà vu, through kismet, through surprising waves of attraction and reaction, through the chills that run up my arms, through the hair that stands up on the back of my neck, through the pleasure of something new and surprising, through stubborn ideas that keep me awake all night long. Whatever works, in other words. Inspiration is always trying to work with me. So I sit there, and I work too. That's the deal. I trust it. It trusts me. Meister Eckhart, 14th century mystic, who was a theologian. And suddenly you know it's time to start something new and trust the magic of beginnings. And that's how it ends.
You ended us with a beginning.
I did.
You trickster, you.
I know. Who knew?
Oh, there's so many goodies in there, Karen.
Oh, and really, you know too, we got pages and pages we couldn't even squeeze out here, things we couldn't even get to, but really recommend it, especially if, she's just so relentless. It doesn't matter what your objection is, no matter what your depression is of the moment, oh, well, I can't because she's addressed it, she's felt it, she's done it, and, it's not just your creativity and the project or the work or the whatever you think it is. It's your life. It is your way of engaging with the world as it is. Please know that we need you full out. And we want you to run playfully, full of freedom and joy. And to take your work seriously and to love it, really.
I really get the sense from her that just create everywhere, everything, your office, your home, your whatever you're doing in the car. It's like anywhere
Right.
that you are,
Right.
just and make it exciting and I love that stubborn gladness. Like just keep affirming the good. I think is what she's doing, no matter what kind of opinions are coming at you about you're great, you're terrible. It's all a roller coaster anyway, all that, and that consistency of loving herself through it.
Right.
That's what we're called to do, because
And-
mistakes in God.
And the other things that she says over and over is that, some of the things you do, you just finish them, right? There was a place where we got to where you just finish them. And so they're not going to sell, or so that it's not your best effort. It didn't work out the way you thought, but you're done with it because you're now free. Now move on to the next thing. And know the value in finishing things. And you're the one that decides what's worth it. But the time that you spend, your soul would say, it was fun, wasn't it? I mean, some parts of it. Wasn't it great in some parts? Wasn't that part of the deal? And you now have this, it's part of your repertoire, part of your resume, something you know what I mean? It's like it builds who you are every step of the way. And it doesn't have to be a culmination of some majestic masterpiece. Unless, of course, it is. You never know.
In listening to you reference the book, it also calls to mind that beyond just living life creatively, it is a recontextualization to realize we can't help but do that. That living life is creative, and recognize that for what it is. But I think that there's some traction in there also, because if you, I think of human beings as being compulsive communicators. We can't help it. You walk down the streets of New York where everybody's ignoring each other, we're still communicating. And when you know that's happening, then having some conscious control over how we're communicating and what we're communicating might be a good idea. It's like, okay, we are creative. We are being and living creatively all the time. May as well have some choice about it. Early when you began talking, I got so inspired by the things you were saying that I actually had to take notes. I usually don't. I usually just kind of remember in my head, but I want to make a couple of notes here. I was struck by the idea that we are in a state of creativity all the time, but we can bring some consciousness to that. It reminds me, my son sucked his thumb until he was like 5. It was a long time, and I read the books, saying, oh, well, he should have given him a pacifier. Well, I don't know that that's any better. You can take a pacifier away. Well, he's attached to his thumb. I'm not too worried about this.
Right.
But I do remember having a conversation with him when he was, 4 or 5, and said, there's going to be a day when you have a choice about whether or not to suck your thumb. And it's probably better to choose not to. And I just let that little 4-year-old brain chew on that for a year, or so. And I could see it happening. The days when he would be sucking his thumb is like, okay. And he would keep doing it anyway. And I think immediately that came to mind about creativity. It's like, we are being creative. And when you notice that you're being creative, you might want to direct that in a useful way. Because we're going to be creating anyway. You look at you look at your life, that's what we've been creating.
So, David, when you say in a useful way, what are you thinking? What do you mean by that?
Wow, that's a good question. Purposeful, finding voice, having something useful and meaningful to say. you know, I've often pondered, you know, people who journalize a lot and they write in their diary, I think, who are you writing to? You know, and I really have not let go of that question. And I've never answered the question either, but I've never let go of the question either. Who am I writing to? Because there are times when I'm writing in my journal where I'm clearly writing to myself. And then there are other times when I'm writing to some future. And it's not necessarily even my future self, but it is aspirational. But in everything that I have a PhD in composition. I know something about the creative process. Every time I've written, it does not work for me to write in a vacuum, to write just for the sake of writing. I have to imagine who's singing it, where it's being sung, who's going to hear it, what the context is. I have to really ground it in time. So that's what I mean by being useful, is I have to write in community, even if I'm by myself. I have to write for sharing it. That's just my process. I'm not saying it has to be that way, but that's what gets my juices going.
And do you enjoy that? I mean, you know, when you've done that process that way?
One of my favorite things in life is when something takes me over. It completely dominates all my thoughts, and I just have to make myself leave to go eat and sleep, and in fact I don't sleep very much when that happens. Now it's not sustainable. I don't necessarily recommend it for other people even, but when it takes me over, I feel so alive, and it completely uses me up. You know, I'm like spent and exhausted afterwards, but it's like, I live for it. I live for those experiences.
Yeah, in that flow of creativity and just letting that God life expresses you. I like that what she was saying about that seamlessness with how your creativity is in the different parts of your life. And I've been calling myself an artist minister because I got tired of like, oh, you're doing this here and that there, and like they're two separate things. No, they're all me, and they're all the way that I express the God life in me and my creativity. And one of them happens to be doing something in a theater, and one of them's at church, or they're all really all happening together at the same time.
And they both have stages.
Yes, I mean, really, I don't, the same skills, right? And so, like, why do I need to divide myself and say, well, I'm this here, but I'm this there? No, they're all me, and they're all my way of expressing, and I think that's kind of what she's saying. Just, you're if in her case a writer when you're doing your survival job, which she was talking about, having that and gleaning things from that experience and sharing things from your artistry as you're doing that too.
Right, exactly. I really love the way she talks about curiosity, you know, where as a jump start, but really to be sure and give yourself like the opportunity to stay aware of where it is that you're curious when something comes up, or a word gets your attention, or something gets your attention, and you know, Google it, right? We Google it, we Wikipedia it, or we do whatever, we find out the history of it, but just start collecting, you know, some of those things and some of that data. And she does a lot of research. I'm sure she's got tons of research that never made it into the book, that really is following this thread and following that, and not really knowing what is the point of it until you have gotten a good wide bandwidth of it, that you can now narrow it down to, this is the piece that matters. This is what I want to use this for here, right? And so, you know, the curiosity thing, I love that, because that's kind of in our control. That's what I like about it, is that you don't have to wait for curiosity to hit you. You could simply, like she said, you know, is there nothing that you're curious about in this moment, even just a little bit, a little tiny bit? Pull that thread and follow it, and just see where it takes you. And you don't, I've done that myself, like when something kind of like bugs the back of my mind, and I'm running through my life because, my God, I've got stuff in my calendar, and I got running from this, my whole day is planned, and I'm running from one thing to another, and then something is just back here, and I'm like, you know, when I have a minute, when I can look around, and I Google it, or I'll find out about it, or I want to see if there's a book on that, and, you know, and I'll just start collecting like little tidbit information about it, and then soon, you know, somebody else will say something to me. It'll come to me in my world and let me know that there's like an echo or like a synchronicity or a coincidence or whatever. And I start to realize, and when I look back on my life, I realized that that was actually an inception of something that grew into another part that really became important, became meaningful, became a real important part of what it was that I was doing. Of what I was already, you know, the direction I was heading or something that I didn't realize would play into it. And I would just say that how much of our life is always tapping us on the shoulder. Psst, psst, come over here. Stop what you think you're supposed to be doing. Do this thing for a little bit. Go pull this thread and see where it takes you. That excites me so much. That is just like the fun thing to do. And
Sounds like a person about to retire, doesn't it?
there's what? What did you say?
I said it sounds like the words of somebody about to retire.
Oh yeah. That's true. You know, I don't know did I say it here already, but you know, when we're in the meetings this week, although this is the last week, and tomorrow's the last meeting, I've been sitting looking out, and I just feel like there's a field back there, and I just want to run in it so bad. And I'm not paying attention. I think I'm listening. I think I'm paying attention to everything. And then something comes up, and I realize...
Wait, what was the question?
No idea. Right? No idea what it was. And I can't get over that. It just feels like, come on, Karen. Let's go play. You know, let's go. Freedom is really the thing. But we can have that even when we have responsibilities and things that matter and things that we have to do. But the way, the traveling and the attitude is all up to you. You're the one who gets to decide how you're going to do it. You know what you have to do, but you're the one who gets to decide how you're going to do it. And that's where you get to be creative, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And something... Spirit wants you to be happy and joyful. Did not, like she said, it shouldn't have made me a writer if it didn't want me to write, right? If it didn't want you to be happy, it shouldn't have made you capable of such joy, right?
Well, Karen, David and I are so excited for your new beginning. And what we want you to forever remember us in your hearts for all the hard work we did together, creating Wednesday Night Satsang and Wednesday Night Experience before that, playing, inventing, and doing all this wonderful work. So we wanted to share a gift with you that we thought you could take with you to remember. And it's been sitting here all along.
No, it's not that.
It's that.
I swear, I was gonna walk over there and ask you, where did that come from? That is so beautiful. I could not believe it.
Well, it came from an Indian artist at the Grand Canyon.
Oh
And
my God.
and I just thought, I'm happier you having this. This is your vase.
David.
And the flowers are ephemeral, but they sort of represent the vitality and the life that you
You know, from a distance I couldn't see what I can see now. It has eagle and wolf, and it has all the, you know, petroglyphs, marks, all that kind of thing. Is it carved? Yes, it is. Just freaking amazing. Look at this, you guys. Oh my gosh. This is incredible.
Well, Karen, we celebrate you. I assert that most of us on staff have not really left denial yet. You know, but I miss you, and I celebrate you all in the same gesture. And I'm really grateful that you have blessed our lives in this service in the many, many ways you have. indelible ways.
And we love
Okay,
you.
hugs, hugs, hugs.
Pleasure. Yeah, you're welcome so much.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to take that home. I'm a hoarder. I hoard things, so I can't wait. Oh, all right, so this is our time.
Yes, let's pray. Let's pray. Let's take in all that good, loving, warm, gushy energy. Gratitude for this moment to be together in this special time by divine appointment, knowing that there are many divine appointments ahead of us. So we consider what's on our hearts this moment, of people in our lives, people we know of, situations that we would like lifted up, transformed, that we're curious about what could happen there that could change and shift for the good. And so we open up the space of prayer consciousness now to hold in light these beloveds. We invite you to speak their names now. Feel real blessing sent to each of these that we've named, knowing that Spirit is already at work in these lives. Things are moving and shifting. Healing is unfolding. Peace, love, harmony, understanding, connection, abundance. So we entrust ourselves, we entrust these beloveds to God, knowing that all is unfolding in right and perfect ways. And for this, we are grateful, and so it is. Amen.
And now it is our time to do our metta practice and speak our prayer for the welfare of all beings. So let us speak our metta practice together. By the power of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they know the sacred joy that arises in the space beyond suffering. May they rest in equanimity that knows no grasping or hatred. May they experience the equality of all beings. May my practice be of benefit to all.